Flying coconuts and snakes. If you haven't already, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. In this garden city of Bangalore, I had a 5-day conference. After that, I went to my maternal uncle's home at Banaswadi Road. He was a colonel in the Sappers and Miners, an engineering division of the Indian Army. He had an independent bungalow, impeccably maintained. On all 4 sides near the boundary wall were crotons and other flowering plants, and in the front garden lawn were 2 majestic coconut palms, sporting a bountiful bunch of coconuts. My aunt wanted to treat me to one of her specialities. She was a wonderful culinary expert in both cooking and baking. In this case, fish curry. So she asked me to snap off some coconuts for her. She instructed an old servant woman to bring out a collapsible aluminium ladder from the garage and, propping it next to a palm, motioned for me to do the honors. Armed with nothing but a pair of cutters, I nimbly ascended into the fronds of the palm. When I heard my uncle from behind the newspapers say, "Be careful and check for snakes," I almost fell off my tall perch in shock. Was he joking? Cautiously, I reached out and snapped off a few coconuts near at hand. Those huge nuts can knock a person unconscious. Then hastily descended to terra firma. The fish curry at lunch was delicious, and after a perfect meal, we all went off to grab a siesta. I fell asleep promptly and dreamt that we, that is, uncle, aunt, and me, had got marooned on an island and were caught in a storm. Coconuts were flying through the air. Thud, thud. Some narrowly missing us. Some palm fronds were flying around too. Through the force of the wind and the flying debris, I could see my aunt struggling and shouting for my uncle. "Clary, Clary!" I ran towards her, but the undergrowth was thick and I suddenly was falling into a narrow trench. I woke up with a start. I could see the sun streaming in at the window as the curtains gently swayed in the breeze. "Clary, Clary!" The shouting was real. Shocked and disoriented, I went towards the sound. There, in the backyard, was my aunt with a hosepipe, and the washerwoman was on top of the pump house. It seemed my aunt had spied a snake while watering the plants. My uncle had an assortment of rifles, and now I thought I'd see some action with a gun. Uncle, however, picked up a steel walking stick and came out. My aunt was hysterical, shouting with the pipe still flowing. When asked where the snake was, she motioned with the pipe. Uncle, with a few deft strokes, had overpowered the snakes, and with aunt wetting his pajamas, it was a comical sight. I thought it was a baby python. It was thick as my forearm, about 5.5 feet in length, with square and green and yellow stripes on its back, marks on its back. It was a viper. It had crept over the wall from the vacant, overgrown plot next door. No wonder my uncle was accustomed to the crawling intruders and had once himself surprised a rat snake in the coconut palm. It just goes to show that in every garden, just as in Eden, it has its share of snakes. We must do what we need to do to survive. Thank you.